Okay, for our first little thing before I go into this is let's talk about the brief history of Sentai in America. And I mean brief. In the late 80s, or early 80s, 70s, there was in test markets, they had episodes of Go Ranger and Jack, and sprinkled around the Sacramento area, Los Angeles area, and a few other areas in the United States. Hawaii, I think. I don't think anything on the East Coast. From what I'm gathering, that's that brief little dip into Sentai that we have, other than the 1986 six-episode parody dub of Dynaman that aired on UPN networks. In the early 80s, Marvel had a chance to bring Sentai to the States via Stan Lee, who was very happy with what Toei had done with with their adaptation of Spider-Man, and of course Battle Fever J. A brief little intro to interesting thing about those two is that Marvel Comics USA and Toei did combine for those two series. The adaptation of Spider-Man is probably one of the surprising hits. People did love it, and as for Battle Fever J, that was a failed attempt, believe it or not, to try to bring a team of Captain Americas. Basically, what they want to do is bring like an Avengers team to Japan. It would basically just be like a whole bunch of Captain Americas instead of like an Iron Man, Thor, Ant-Man, Black Widow, Giant Man, all that kind of stuff. I mean, and I say failed attempt because the idea itself failed, but what we got was Battle Fever J. Fun fact about Miss America: I was a rejected ally from Marvel Comics for Captain America. Obviously, we know Captain America, Bucky, Avengers, all those kind of characters that were his allies. But the little known fact is that Miss America, not the pageant winners every year. Peace probably do on your bike. So we had that brief little thing. Marvel had failed to bring Sentai, and then around 1987, I want to say, Haim Saban had on a visit to Japan, had actually saw Sentai, liked it, and then tried to bring it over. And he failed again until 1992 when a little show called Galaxy Rangers, well, made it to the attention of the studio producers. They liked that idea. That later on he repitched it again, and what became Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, obviously. And there we go. History started. This Power Rangers was picked up by Fox, and 20 years later, it still airs. And here's a little fun fact about the Galaxy Rangers pilot presentation. Mark Dacascos, a very well-known action guy, actor in actions, and more recently the chairman of Iron Chef America. He was originally cast as Jason Lee, the Red Ranger. Of course, that role eventually evolved into the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers' Jason Lee Scott, portrayed by Austin St. John. But could you imagine the Red Ranger doing this?
Today's secret ingredient is maple syrup! Hawaiian Moi!
Okay, now the question really is Power Rangers bad for Sentai? Power Rangers is the worst thing ever. No. Okay, let's talk about this for a second. All these fans out there that are saying that Power Rangers is stupid, it sucks. Yeah, Toei should sue them. They should never be allowed to do it ever again. You have to think about this. Toei loves the heck out of Power Rangers. I mean, seriously, sometimes I think it's what's keeping Sentai going. I mean, the last few years in Japan, Sentai's ratings have been dropping, and Power Rangers ratings have been rising. You know, especially ever since the Saban buyback. So, it kind of makes you wonder there. And let's also not forget that Toei does dub some of the Power Ranger seasons into Japanese. From my knowledge, Mighty Morphin seasons 1, 2, the movie. I don't know if Turbo did. I can't remember if In Space. I know Lost Galaxy did. I don't know about Lightspeed Rescue or Time Force. I don't think so, though. Or maybe Lightspeed Rescue was the final one. I know there was a Korean dub of it, and that was the last one for South Korea, if I'm not mistaken. But overall, and then Saban started, and then Toei agreed to do more dubbing and started with SPD and Mystic Force. I don't know if Overdrive or any of those of the other seasons are going to be adapted soon, or dubbed soon into Japanese. I can't give any guarantee on that. But Power Rangers does exist in Japan and not just Super Sentai. You know, a lot of people say, "Oh, Saban did crazy crap to the Kamen Rider series with their Masked Rider." Yes, Masked Rider was a bit of a disgrace to Shotaro Ishinomori. Saban's Masked Rider, I should say, because Masked Rider is the name of the entire franchise. People before you try to argue, it's Kamen Rider, not Masked Rider. Please, my friends, learn basic Japanese. Kamen translates out to Masked Rider. The toys and everything pre-double were marketed Masked Rider. The movie, the 2005 movie that was distributed all over the world, was called Masked Rider the First. So, okay, I'm going on a tangent here with the Masked Rider stuff, but Saban, Disney, they did nothing bad for Power Rangers. Oh, and I also forgot to add that in Maji Ranger vs. Deca Ranger, the movie, Toei did reverse adaptation and actually adapted the SPD Battleizer from Power Rangers SPD and used it in the movie. So, you can't say Toei doesn't like it. And on top of that, like I said, Toei is actually doing some funding for the 20th anniversary season. Well, technically the 21st. Because that's when everything is going to start, was Super Mega Force. Which leads me to my next topic. Oh yes, here we are. Season 20 and 21, Power Rangers Mega Force and Power Rangers Super Mega Force. Okay, so the biggest issues with people right now is the news that's been coming out about Super Mega Force and how they're adapting the Gokaiger suits, which is being a power up to the Goseiger suits. And I am not the bit least bothered by this. Saban is running such the greatest Super Sentai ever. And let me just say this: if you think Gokaiger is the best Super Sentai ever, you're far off. If you take away the anniversary stuff, Gokaiger's just your average Sentai with boring villains, subpar story, if you really want to call it that. I mean, for an example, I want to say this: they took 50 episodes to revisit a plot point. Now it's Captain Marvelous getting curved. Really? You waited 50 episodes for a cheap laugh like that? I mean, at least Power Rangers putting bad puns every episode is a big step up. But taking 50 episodes to reference something that you could have easily done by episode 2. I mean, there are curry shops all over Japan. I'm pretty sure of it. Or at least restaurants that serve curry. I mean, come on. I mean, Captain Marvel's being curry. It's such a cheap laugh. That I didn't laugh at that. I mean, maybe kids did. And let's talk about the second half Gokaiger when the ratings really started to decline. A lot of people want to blame Go Busters for the Super Sentai decline. And it's been going this way for years. I would say since Bokencher, maybe even as far back as Gal Ranger, Super Sentai's ratings haven't really been the same. Yeah, they recovered for a few years between Hurricaneger and Maji Ranger, and probably again after Bokenger, and then things started to decline probably around Go-Sager again, but Gokaiger saw the biggest drop off of kids watching. And I have an opinion on that, which I'll discuss in a later video. But basically, kids don't know half these Rangers that are showing up, so why would they care? They like the Megazords because they're all Rangers they know. And okay, I just used the Megazord term. I'm not talking about Go Busters. The Mecha. Because I don't want to let those Super Sentai fanboys out there saying, "Oh, you're using the wrong term." I can use whatever term I want, especially since Go Busters decided to call them Megazords, at least for the season. And now then we have to say that, really, is Power Rangers damaging anything from Sentai? No, it isn't. It's giving Sentai more exposure worldwide, and quite honestly, I've enjoyed Power Rangers for the longest time. I discovered Sentai again, for watching it for the first time in 2009 when I was looking for episodes of Mighty Morphin for nostalgia because I ran across a couple episodes of Jew Ranger, and I watched a few of the earlier episodes, and then the Burai arc when he was first introduced the Evil Dragon Ranger. I enjoyed it, I did, and then I started going into more Sentai. I eventually started watching a little Shinkenger here and there, a little bit of current Sentais, and then I started getting a little bit into Masked Rider Encore recently. But sticking with Sentai, I saw Gokaiger all the way through. That was the first Sentai I saw when it was live airing. I did see it live, but you get what I mean when I say it was the same. It was the exact same time as they were airing. At least when the Raws, if it came out, I would watch, and then I would watch the subs when they came out. But really, Power Rangers is doing nothing to ruin Super Sentai. I mean, you can say that all you want, but really, Toei's making this money. Bandai making money. Saban making money. So they see that it's a big cash cow even today. I mean, it's 20 years later. I mean, the show wouldn't be going on for 20 years if people hated it all the time. I mean, yeah, there was that brief cancellation by Disney, but they didn't want to do it anymore, so I can't blame them there. And they did blow us out of the water by getting Jed Lin to be a part of RPM, but they also did a really good job with RPM and to end Power Rangers, to end Power Rangers for at that time for good. Then they showed the re-version of Mighty Morphin and the comic book effects. It was cheesier than it was in '93. And yeah, I honestly think that, you know, Power Rangers has done a great job keeping Super Sentai, keeping the Super Sentai market open and giving Toei a reason to continue. I think, you know, Super Sentai has been around for, as of this video, 37 years with Kyoryuger now. So I would actually say that Power Rangers did for the success of Sentai worldwide. So I don't see an issue why Power Rangers sucks. I think it's just people wanting to just rationalize an idea that they like a kid's show that's quote unquote more violent, more bloody, darker. Because Super Sentai is always mature, always bloody, and always dark.
Dame, 痩せなきゃ。おいしく痩せようぜ。ベリーヘルシーなスーパーダイエットクレープ。クレープ上手に焼いてクレープ。クリームたっぷりかけてクレープ。Oh yeah。チョコもバナナも乗っけてクレープ。巻いてパクッと食べたらバイバイ。おデブちゃんだなんて言われないのさ。本当に？
And that leads me into my final point. Super Sentai better because it's more mature? No. Okay, let's talk about Super Sentai's demographic. Ages 5 to 10 and boys. Okay? 5 to 10-year-olds. That's the same demographic as Power Rangers. Okay, think about it this way. There's a lot more culturally accepted in Japan as opposed to the United States, where Power Rangers airs. And it's under the jurisdiction of the FCC. And I need to remind people that back in 1994, Power Rangers was pretty much going to be canceled if parents in the FCC had their way. Because back then they were saying it was too violent. Yeah, they were saying Power Rangers was too violent. So you want to blame all those parents in the 90s and blame the FCC because this is what that's what's leading to all the things you hate about it, if you want to say it that way. So it's not Saban's fault, it's not Disney's fault. It's
the fellas at the freaking FCC.
Thank you, Peter. So really, let's take in Turbo Power Rangers movie. There was blood, and Divatox did say hell, which are things you wouldn't see in a regular series. Well, because they didn't have the FCC down their backs. And so, bottom line is, Super Sentai is also okay. Let's do this. Super Sentai is a boys' drama, a kids' drama series. Power Rangers is a boys' action series here. That means there's more focus on Power Rangers in the action than there is the story. There are dramatic elements in Power Rangers because, well, they're taking it from they are taking Sentai footage, so they're gonna have to adapt some of that. And the biggest evidence is when they Time Force. There was a lot of drama in that series. To also go along with the drama of Time Ranger. But then they did their own thing. I mean, there was a lot of drama, especially near the end of in space, and there was that drama in Lost Galaxy. There was that drama, I guess, in RPM. So they do have those dramatic elements. It's drama is part of a story like this. You get drama with action. But with Power Rangers, the focus is going to be more on the action, whereas Sentai is probably going to have more focus on the story, which is why something like Gokaiger really fails, because the story was kind of average. I mean, if you compare Gokaiger's story to a story like a Live Man or Die Ranger, there are significant differences, and you can see that Sentai is just another series. It's another kids show in Japan. I mean, you want Toei gave you the more adult series. It's called Unofficial Sentai Akiba Ranger. So, I mean, and that's what you're gonna get.